Hello, my name is Marcus. Today I'm going to show you the basics of Photoshop. Photoshop is a very powerful photo editing tool used by professionals all over the world. It can be used to manipulate your photos, to create content, and also to make design elements for your website. Learning it can be a little daunting though, so it's nice to start with the very basics. Let's take a look. Now I have a beautiful picture here of a bird, and if I go up to image, I have an adjustment menu where I have a bunch of different adjustments that I can do to this photo. Now, one thing that I would like to do to this image is I want to increase the brightness in the shadows. So to do that, I go to the Shadows and Highlights tool, I click here, and I get a basic adjustment of shadows and highlights. Now I just want to increase the shadows a little bit, so I'll leave the shadows at about maybe 10% or so. Now if you click this button right here, you'll get a few more options. You can now change the tone, the radius of both your shadows and your highlights, and you can also do some more adjustments to color and your midtone. If you want to keep it simple, however, just leave that unticked. Then press OK. Now I would also like to adjust the brightness and the contrast of this image. So again, I'll go up to Image, I'll click Adjustments, and I'll click Brightness and Contrast. Now I want this image to be a little bit brighter than it is right now. So I'll grab the brightness slider and I'll just bring it up a little bit until I feel that it's bright enough, maybe around 25 or 24 or so. And then I think that the contrast is a little bit too high, so I'll drag the contrast down a little bit. Now you can play around with these settings in your picture to make them look better. Now you can see that there's a little preview here. If you untick the preview, you get the before, like before these adjustments are applied. And this is an easy way to check how the image will be affected by your adjustment. Click OK when you're done. Now the adjustments we have just done are applied directly to the layer that we're working on. Now this can make the image easier to work with, but in case you want to make an adjustment and you don't want to apply it yet, you can create an adjustment layer. To do that, you go up to the Layer menu instead, and you press the menu called New Adjustment Layer, and you select, for example, Hue Saturation. You can name this adjustment layer to whatever you want, but for the sake of this, I will just call it the Hue Saturation Layer. Click OK. You see that you get the adjustment pane up here, or the properties pane, where you can adjust the same things as you can if you went in and did the image, adjustment, and then hue saturation on your layer. Here I can adjust the saturation, for example, and I get an immediate result over here. Now what's great with this is that you don't have to click OK or anything. It's applied to the adjustment layer. And in case you want to see the before and after, you just press the little eye here to hide the adjustment layer that you've been working on, and bam, you will see the layer underneath without the adjustment applied. Now, I would love for the background to be black and white, but not the bird. To do this, I will work with a mask. When you create an adjustment layer, it automatically creates a mask for you, and that's this little white box right over here. Now you can create a mask on almost any layer. You click the layer that you want to create a mask for, and then you click the little mask icon down here. Now a mask is basically Photoshop's way of telling you what is applied and what isn't. It's a cut of the layer that you're working on. Now white means that it goes through, and black means that it doesn't. Think of it as positive and negative. So with the mask selected, I will go over to my Tools pane over here. Now in the Tools pane, you will find Selection Tools, you will find some Brush Tools, and you will find some general text and editing tools. Now for now, I will select the brush. Now Photoshop has a few default brushes built in that you can see in this menu over here. Now I will select a hard brush, and I will make it quite big for the sake of this demonstration. And I will set the blending mode to normal. I'll set opacity to 100% and the flow to 100%. Now, with the mask selected, I will start to draw out. And you can see as when I'm drawing over here, you can see that the color will start to emerge. That is because we're painting negative right here telling Photoshop that this part of the image we don't want the adjustment layer to apply to. So we'll continue to paint the background around the bird, like so. And there we go. But wait, we wanted the bird to be in color and the background to be black and white. With your mask still selected, go up to Image, select Adjustments, and go down to Invert. You can also click Ctrl-I. Now this will invert the mask that you were working on, and you can now see that the bird is in color and the background is black and white. Now to get rid of the final line around the bird and make that black and white as well, all you have to do is go in and paint, but this time you use a white brush. So you go down here, you press the two arrows over here to switch between the foreground and the background color. Then you go back here, and now we paint closer to the bird, making that line disappear. You can also zoom in using the zoom tool, and that will make it easier to nail the line perfectly. By pressing space, I can drag the picture around without zooming out and zooming in again. If you right click, you get a quick menu where you can change the size and the hardness of the brush. Here you can also change what brush you're currently using amongst the built-in brushes in Photoshop. With add-ons, you can actually add more brushes to the selection. You can even create your own. Now remember, if you go over a line, you can always go back, change your brush to black, and then repaint whatever you painted over, like so. The line isn't perfect, but it's good enough to show that the bird is now in color and the background is now completely black and white. Now if I want to go into my mask, all I have to do is Alt-click on the mask, and then the mask will appear instead of the picture that I'm working on. Here I can go in and adjust some details if I want to, and to go back, all you have to do is click back on the layer. Now if I want to compare before and after, and I want to hide my mask, all I have to do is right click on the mask and select Disable Layer Mask. I can also change and manipulate what we've just done. So if I again enable the layer mask, and I go into the adjustment layer, and I start playing around with the saturation, for example, I can make the background completely blown out with saturation, but the bird will stay just fine. Now this is of course just one example of what a mask can be used for. I think that mask is a very powerful tool of Photoshop and something that is very important that you learn early on to use, because it will not only make you more efficient, but it will also make your results better. So to summarize, in this video we have learned a little bit about how to manipulate an image using brightness contrast, using saturation, and we've also learned a little bit about adjustment layers and masks. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you learned something from this video. Please leave a thumbs up if you did, and if you want to see more videos like this one, please subscribe.